Good morning to all, and now we will start session 5 of the model 3. The subject is material science and material science. In the previous section, we have discussed about various types of heat treatments, and now we will move on to various types of surface heat treatments. So, now I would like to make a difference between heat treatment and surface heat treatment. In the case of heat treatment, the entire bulk of the material is heat treated, whereas in the case of surface heat treatment, only surface of about 1 mm or less than 1 mm, it is also called as case, has been heat treated. So that the properties at the surface are different and properties at the core at the core, that means inside the material, are will be different. So it's a thermochemical treatments to harden the surface of the parts, either by introducing carbon or nitrogen, also called as case hardening, may or may not require quenching. So after the surface is heated above austenate, so sometimes we may require quenching and sometimes we will subject to the natural cooling. Interior remains tough and stronger. Then the primary purpose of this case hardening is to produce a surface which is resistant to wear while maintaining the overall toughness and strength of the steel core. This is very much required in the cases like automobile piston. The piston undergoes wear because of high temperature and then speed and then traveling, moving inside the bore for more than number of hours. So in that case, in order to increase the life of the piston, definitely the surface should resist the wear. At the same time, the piston should take the impact loads generated by the burning of the gases. Hence, the core should, in a position, the core of the material should be tough enough to absorb the shock loads. So that means at the surface we have got a set of requirements, and at the inside we have got another set of requirements. Under these cases, under this condition, what we the mostly the people recommended is go for surface hardening. So that is what the requirement. In this type of process is normally used on steels with carbon content, low carbon content, and admits carbon by diffusion into the local surfaces requiring treatment. So it is not possible to surface treat the high carbon steels. Why? Because the carbon content will be high throughout the material, and it is recommended only for the medium and low carbon steels, so that we can induce or we can admit extra amount of carbon at the surface, and then we can modify. The subsequent heat treatment develops the desired combination of high surface hardness and internal toughness. Another process called nitrating consists of diffusing of nitrogen. There is a process called nitrogen where nitrogen is introduced into the material. So look at this sketch here. This is a steel shaft, and you can observe that the outer bulk or the case is dark, and the inside it is low. So this, whatever the color that is dark, indicates the presence of extra carbon atoms compared to the bulk or core of the material. So that the properties of this core is different, and the properties of the surface or case is different, and the properties of the core is different. Usually, properties of the core is it is more tougher to observe the shock loads, and the properties of the surface is more hard to resist wear and sometimes to resist corrosion. So these all components are a surface heat treatment. So the various surface heat treatments are, first one is carburizing. Carburizing. The name itself indicates that carburizing raise the carbon content. So the carburizing can be done by this three different methods: tank carburizing, gas carburizing, and liquid carburizing. Let's move on. Let us move on to the pack carburizing. This is a steel container. The outer line is in a steel container, and inside this we have got a space, empty space. In the empty space, we have kept a component, the part to be carburized, and around this we have filled with what is called activated charcoal, and this entire container is heated. That means we will supply heat, and this charcoal releases carbon monoxide, and it reacts with the oxygen, and it results in the formation of iron carbide and then carbon dioxide. So whatever the source of carbon, on application of heat, it releases the carbon, and the carbon enters into the surface of the component and results in the increase of the hardness. This is how uh, the pack carburizing will take place. Look at here. The component is packed. The component is packed, surrounded by a carbon-rich compound, and placed in the furnace at 900 degree centigrade. Over a period of time, carbon will diffuse into the surface of the metal. The longer the left in the furnace, the greater the depth of hard carbon skin. And then the grain refinement is necessary in order to prevent the cracking. So look at this. This is the carbon rich material, and then from the carbon rich material, the carbon is diffusing into the interstitial position of the metal. This shows the direction. And one more point to be here, noted here, he says that grain refinement is essential. Otherwise, grain refinement means we have to decrease the size of the grains so that there will not be any cracks. If the grain size is more, it says that there is a possibility of crack because of high carbon content. And the limitations of this pack carburizing are: it is difficult to control case depth less than 0.5 mm, laborious and time consuming, poor control of the surface carbon content, and inability to produce closer tolerances of case depth are some of the disadvantages. And because of this, nowadays this is not in use. And the other type of carburizing is gas carburizing. So here we will use the gas as a source of carbon, and generally methane, ethane, and natural gases are used as a sources for carbon. Let us look into the various steps involved in this gas carburizing. Gas carburizing is very popular and widely used for case depth ranging from 0.5 mm to up to 3 mm. It is possible to achieve narrow band of case depth requirements because gas can move into any uh, integrated details or parts of the material or component. Good repeatability of end results are possible. That means there is whatever the component is treated, the quality remains the same. Different furnaces and atmospheres are suit the end requirements of the product and cost impact. Here components are heated above 900 degrees centigrade. That means above to make the austenite phase in the atmosphere of methane, ethane, and natural gases. So other one is liquid carburizing. In this process is mostly used for producing the shallow case depths in a thin sections. The components are heated in the bath containing a suitable mix of sodium cyanide salts and sodium carbonate. The normal case depth for this process are about 0.5 to 0.5 mm with a bath strength of 20 to 30% of sodium cyanide and high bath strength of 40 to 50% of sodium cyanide are required for the case depth of 0.5 mm, 0.5 mm and above. So here the depth is decided by the concentration or strength of the cyanide solution used in the salt bath. And these are the three different methods of carburizing. And next we will move on to other type of surface heat treatment called as induction hardening treatment. Induction hardening treatment. Look at here. This is the shaft to be heated, and this is the water for quenching, and this is the copper wires from a AC source, AC source, and this is what the arrangement. So the sectional view you can see here. Eddy current, induced eddy currents. This is the eddy currents on the surface of the shaft, and this is what the magnetic field created by the AC current. AC current. Now look into the various steps. Induction surface hardening involves heating the surface of the component by electromagnetic induction. Here, specimen is passed to the induction coil connected to a high frequency alternating current. So when the high frequency current passes through the induction coil, a high frequency magnetic field is set up. This magnetic field induces eddy current on the specimen. So eddy current on the specimen. The metallic specimen resists to the passage of this current and get heated. So when the surface of the metal shows a resistance for the flow of current, so naturally it is get heated. The high frequency induced current tends to travel at the surface of the metal. This is known as a skin effect. So here the interesting point is the heating will not enter into the depth of the material, whereas it is spreads across the surface of the material, and that is called as heat skin effect. Due to this, it is possible to heat the thin layer of steel without heating the heating the interior. So heat will be concentrated only on the surface, and whereas the inside material or core material is not heated much compared to the outer surface. This surface layer is heated quickly, followed by the quenching by spraying water. Once the required temperature is reached by the top surface, then they will admit that into quenching. That into quenching as we have shown here. So once the specimen is get heated, and then it is dipped immediately into the water, so that whatever the arsenate is formed is formed into iron carbide or martensite, depending upon the carbon content. So look at here. Here, these are the sketches shows how the component is heated by the induction heating methods. And the other type of hardening is flame hardening. The flame hardening concept is very simple. So the gas flame contains the oxygen and acetylene. In the acetylene, there is an carbon content. So when the flame is when you heat the surface, what happens? The carbon content of the acetylene enters into the surface of the material, and once the required temperature is reached, what they do immediately they will spray a jet of water so that it's subjected to the sudden cooling and results in hardening of the surface. So that is what called as a flame hardening. Depending upon the type of the component, let us say if the component is flat, if the component is flat, then what they do, they heat the surface by a flame, and then they will take the component separately, and then they quench in the cold water. That is the first generalized simple case. In the other case, let us say if the component is a circular one, it may be a gear or it may be a pulley or a pulley. In that case, what they do, they will make the component to rotate slowly, and then at a fixed position, they heat the surface with the help of the flame. That is one case. In the other case, and once the surface is heated, they will pour the water on the component. Water on the component. This is the for circular shapes. And the other cases where the length is more, where the length is more, in that case, they use a carrier which can move along the length of the workpiece. The carrier consists of two nozzles. One is the iron, one is the flame, and the other one is jet of water. The flame eats the surface, and once the required temperature is obtained, the water jet sprays the water and results in the quenching. So this method is for the components which are long, guideways and rails and other things. So there are one more components like some more components like shaft. It is circular as well as it will be having some length. Under this case, what they do, the shaft is made to rotate in a fixed position, and the carrier is made to move along the length of the shaft. So as I said, the carrier consists of the flame and followed by the water jet. So with the help of these two, the surface of the shaft is heated above 900 degrees centigrade. That means austenite is formed, and then immediately quenched, which results in the hardening of the surface. This is what a very simple and generally uh, used type of surface hardening. It is more economical compared to the other types of hardening methods, surface hardening methods. And here, the other topic is age hardening of aluminum copper alloy. So even though this is an heat treatment of non-ferrous metals, it is added in this. Why? Because this is also a type of hardening process. Let us discuss about um, this diagram. This is a phase diagram of aluminum and 4% of copper. Look at here. So the outer line is liquidus, and the state of the condition of the metal above this liquidus is liquid, and this line is solidus. This line is solidus. The state of the material below this is solid, and in between liquidus and solidus, there will be a liquid as well as solid. Now we will concentrate age hardening of alloy containing 4% of copper. So this is the point where the metal is liquid. In this liquid condition, it forms a homogeneous mixture, and as you starts cooling, then liquid and the solid portion alpha, that is copper rich solid solution is formed. Copper rich copper rich solid solution in aluminum is formed. That is called as alpha. Now, on further cooling, so that what happens, entire entire thing will become a solid, that is alpha. So alpha, this is the alpha formed at 500 degrees centigrade. So what is alpha? Alpha is solid solution of solid solution of aluminum and copper. Aluminum and copper. Now, at what temperature it is formed? At 500 degrees it is formed. Now we have got two chances or two methods of cooling. One is slow cooling and other one is quenching or fast cooling. When the cooling is slow, what happens? Grains are formed. The grains of alpha grains are formed with the presence of cuprous aluminate, that is CuAl2. So whatever the lines, so these lines are nothing but CuAl2, cuprous aluminate. So this is what formed structure in the case of slow cooling. In the other method, that is fast cooling, the quenching, what happens when you suddenly dip into a cold water? Once again, it forms a alpha grains, alpha grains of rich carbon, alpha grains of very rich carbon or super saturated alpha grains. And in this case, the carbon content, the copper content is very high, and it will not be stable over a period of time. What happens? So the copper copper in combining with aluminum, it comes as a cuprous aluminate precipitates. So precipitate means a very fine powder, and this very fine powder distributed in the structure of alpha grains. So this method of distribution will improve the hardness of the material compared to the this condition. So this hardening is done just over a period of time. This is called as age hardening. Age hardening, and this is applicable for most of the uh, non-ferrous metals. And then with this we will move on to some of the multi-choice questions. So the first one is, heat treatment involves only heating, and cooling, heating, soaking, cooling, and treating metals with heat. So the answer is it includes heating, soaking, and cooling. C is the answer. Which of the following is not a type of annealing? Full annealing, partial annealing, cyclic annealing, and subcritical annealing. The third one is the answer. And then uh, other one is, the main objective of normalizing: to improve hardness, to improve machinability, to bring it to normalcy, to improve toughness. So it is the second one, B, that is to improve machinability. And then tempering should be done after. Tempering should be done after annealing, casting, hardening, and machining. As we have discussed, tempering is a should be followed by hardening. Should be followed by hardening. And then the other one is, the outcome of Gemini end quench test is what? Percentage of ductility, percentage of hardness, heat treatability, hardenability. So it is the hardenability. So by this test, it is possible to assess or to possible to quantify the ability of the material to undergo hardness. Which of these which of these is not a type of tempering? Heat tempering, as tempering, and Mar tempering. There is no term like heat tempering. So the answer is A. And the other one is, which of these is not a type of carburizing? Pack carburizing, mass carburizing, liquid carburizing, and gas carburizing. So we have seen pack carburizing, liquid carburizing, gas carburizing, and there is nothing as such mass carburizing. So this is the answer. Age hardening of aluminium copper alloy is by presence of iron carbide, presence of perlite, presence of CuAl2, and presence of iron. So the answer is presence of CuAl2. Which of these is not a invariant reaction in iron carbon diagram? Eutectic, eutectoid, peritectic, and then austenitic. So the austenitic is not the reaction. And then carbon content in the medium carbon steel is up to. Carbon content in the medium carbon steel is up to. So we will divide the steels as low carbon, medium carbon, high carbon. Low carbon is up to 0.25 and medium carbon is up to 0.55 and then high carbon is above 0.25. So here it is medium carbon, so it is up to 0.55. The carbon content in the high carbon steel is above 0.55%. And these are the answers for MCQs. And with this, we have completed this session 5. Thank you very much.